Welcome back to another episode of Four Inside. I'm your host, Mike Obi. Firstly, I had to miss last week and I apologize for that. Here in Houston, we were dealing with some inclement weather, with us dealing with the ice and snowstorm. And, here in Houston, we're not used to really experiencing snow. But not only that, many people in the city, millions, lost power, lost heat, lost electricity, lost water. And so it's just been a trying time. And we were all just trying to navigate that experience and that situation, as well as myself. And so, just for everybody here in Houston who may still be going through something, may not have water, may not have power, or whatever the case may be, just wishing well for everyone out there, good fortune, and hopefully we're able to get the situation fully rounded out and people can go back to navigating and living their lives. But, I think what I do want to just start off this whole conversation on this episode is just the fact that, you know, it just seems as if, especially with us dealing with COVID, and we're still not all the way out the woods with that, but then COVID and then the deaths of many, prominent figures, and now with Ice Storm, it just seems like life continues to test the willpower of humanity. But I think, that kind of fits into the theme of why, started podcasting, is the fact that, life is, in my opinion, a maze where we're navigating through different challenges, different obstacles. We're having to figure things out and, live life on the fly. Just like with last week's snowstorm, many people had to leave their homes because they had no heat and electricity and they had to find a way to stay warm. So what do you do? Do you go to the heating centers if they were open? Do you go live with family? Do you go stay in your car? I mean, for some people, that was the only source of heat. And then on top of that, food became scarce because, stores ran out, stores were closed, and then, certain grocery stores even lost power. So navigating that situation where now you don't have food readily available, you have to go buy fast food. But then, me experiencing it and kind of driving in it, first off, the roads were icy, and it took a couple of days for the ice to subside and for the roads to kind of become safe to drive on. So navigating the road and making sure you don't crash was one of the challenges. And then on top of that, a lot of the fast food places, especially pizza, Domino's, Papa John's, all those places, lines extended up the door. So it was a matter of, if you're trying to find food to eat for yourself or your family, it was a challenge in that. And people are stressed out, and, the outrage is starting to pour over. I mean, you can see it on the news where people are just, they can't understand. And it's very well, rightfully so, why, it seemed a lack of response to the situation at hand. And, this is a matter of life and death. And, it was just a tough situation for everybody last week. But, just, I think, like everything in life, there's always a lesson to be learned, which is that, especially with, the unpredictability of, life, if there's anything 2020 taught us, and now even going into 2021, is that you have to be forward thinking and be prepared for anything to happen. So being able to be ready for natural disasters has to be part of people's thinking, I think. I know part of some of the people in our neighborhood already had generators ready in case of, a situation where electricity was gone. They already had the generator ready. They already had, wood for fires to be ready to be started, lighter fluid, grills. All those things are part of people's, I think, everyday planning, forward planning, not relying on, luck and being able to go to a store and try to find the resources. Because the fact of the matter is, if you try to go for it at the time when it happens, like anything, it's going to be too late. And either it's not going to be there, or it's not going to be there in the manner in which you want it. And then you're putting yourself even at more risk. And so, I just think that, forward thinking, pre-planning, pre-preparation, for most people, I know if there's anything I took, is that, you have to always be aware and be abreast and be, present when certain things are bound to happen or might be coming down the pipeline. And then on top of that, I think, the ability to sustain patience through a situation, especially because, with people, especially, for me who's in school, and a lot of my peers who are in school, and you have homework. And of course, it's natural to believe that, school is the last thing on your mind when you're thinking of a crisis, right? But, for certain, it's not always guaranteed that professors, teachers will have the same level of empathy for you. So you have to kind of, it was tough to think like, we don't have access to Wi-Fi, you don't have access to data, all the things that we have and we take advantage of, on a daily basis. We now all of a sudden don't have this thing. We have to navigate through, okay, how am I going to get this done? And that level of stress, right? And then for families, we're trying to communicate with one another. We don't know what's happening with one family member who may live in another part of Houston, another part of town, another part of the state. And, if you don't have a way to communicate with them, contact with them, you don't know who's checking in on them, if are they being checked in on at all. And so just being able to have patience in a situation, being able to see it through and not lose your cool, I think is another thing. And another practice to go and forward with, for me, just from this last week's storm, because, when you lose power and when you are cold, you're shivering, you don't have water accessible to you like you want, it's natural to be frustrated and to be angry. But in anger, what does anger do for you? That's one of the, kind of phrases I kind of live life by. It's like, okay, is it better to be angry about it or to adapt with it? Okay, well, what can I do now? How can I at least manage the situation for the time being? Right. And then from there, you're able to kind of make solutions. I'm very solution based. And that is to make sure that, okay, be efficient with the time, be efficient with the energy, be efficient with my clothing, making sure that I don't put myself in situations where, I'm not protecting myself and my family members, however that may look. And I think that's something that a lot of people kind of had to figure in and also, take into account. And another thing that I think most people were able to get through the situation pretty handily and have patience. I mean, with Harvey that happened here, with the floods that were happening beforehand, and then with COVID, and now with these ice storms, it seems like, Houstonians have had really a crash course in how to navigate natural disasters. But, just going forward, I think, definitely patience is a virtue. Willpower is, very underrated skill and quality to have. But, just on a lighter note, I know last Sunday was Valentine's Day. So hopefully, people were able to spend time with your loved ones and your significant others if you have it. And, spread some love and affection, which is always a good thing. As Charlie Wilson said, being in love is good for your health. But that's just a wrap for this week. Episode 40, I already have next week's episode planned. And so we continue to push this content on now that I'm back and able to have a stable situation again. And, once again, I appreciate everybody who continues to listen to the show and to the channel and continues to tune in and share. We're at 40 episodes and we're only getting started. We're going to wrap up season 1 here soon, and we'll be on to the next season. More content, more conversations, more guests, and more topics will be discussed, and we'll continue to navigate this maze together. But that's a wrap. Episode 40 of For Insight. Once again, I'm your host, Mike Obi. You can catch this episode on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, and all platforms streaming podcasts. Appreciate y'all.